more than just a mere apology.
Well, that was Kelly Carrender. She's the national coordinator for Tea Party Patriots, who earlier today said an apology from the IRS just not enough after a report coming out this week showed that IRS officials targeted Tea Party and other conservative groups. Well, joining me now to discuss this topic is Carol Davis. She's the founder of the Tea Party group West Suburban Patriots. It's based in DuPage County. She's live with me over at Tribune Tower. Carol, how are you? Welcome to the show.
I'm fine, thank you.
Well, let me just start with your personal experience. Did you, this all seemed to start back in 2011, did your group hear from the IRS? Were you subjected to this kind of high-level scrutiny?
Well, it's interesting because, of course, we are novices at this. We're just basically moms, parents, grandparents, out in the suburbs. So we've never really filed for nonprofit status or anything. So when we submitted our application in 2011, it was probably April, May, sometime in that area. We expected to hear back within 90 days. That's what the IRS says, that they'll contact you. Well, after about 120 days, we hadn't heard anything. So our treasurer, Pat, who's a wonderful keeper of all this type of thing, she contacted them, and they said it's in the pile.
Well, by the way, just hearing that story, that sounds, I'll be honest with you, I know a lot of folks who try and, create 501c3s, whatever. The kind of extensive wait time in the pile, welcome to the world of creating a business, that may be kind of standard. It takes a long time. But does your story go on to actually show that they then went after lots of other documents and things you thought perhaps was unfair?
Well, yes, because in late February of 2012, we started hearing about other groups across the country. We had not gotten a judgment one way or the other from the IRS, and it was coming up to a year. So we started hearing about other groups getting these long questionnaires, and that was late February, March of 2012. Well, it wasn't until June of 2012 that we actually got a letter from the IRS with some questions that, like I say, being novices at that, we didn't know that if they were out of bounds or not, but they did seem pretty political.
I just got a curiosity. Are there any that you recall? I don't know if you have that with you or anything, but any that you recall that you thought, boy, this just seemed to be inappropriate?
Well, yes, keep in mind, we were just applying for a nonprofit status.
I understand, sure.
We hadn't submitted any, tax returns or anything, but It was almost like audit questions. Who do you have at your meetings, and what politicians have spoken at your meetings, and what have these politicians talked about? Now, we have a policy that we don't let politicians talk at our meetings. We'll let them, introduce themselves, but that's about it. We don't give them the floor. So we are a group that's very independent. We have Republicans, Democrats, independents, libertarians, and we're proud of that.
Indeed,
we're a civic organization.
Yeah, I've looked at your website and at your mission, which says truth matters and history matters and family matters and all that. Let me ask you: does your group or in your role as you're looking at this, the president has said he knows nothing about this. He heard about it like everybody else, and he's outraged by it. Is it your sense? Is there any sense that the administration, the president, are you angry with him or them at all, or are you fairly comfortable with all the representations that say this is the rogue IRS doing its thing?
I rather doubt that it was individuals in the IRS that chose to do this, especially when you consider the scope of it and how many groups were affected. Really, we see this as a sweeping problem, and an apology isn't enough. We as citizens of the United States getting this big brother treatment, it's beyond the pale. Beyond the pale.
So it seems that you don't accept some of the initial IRS response, which is it was just some low-level folks who decided to do this. That actually is hard to swallow. But you get a sense that it may be focused within the IRS, perhaps higher ups at the IRS. Somebody's head's got a role on this thing, Carol, I'm sure. And perhaps whether it's the acting commissioner or something like that. But do you have any sense that they were taking direction from beyond that? And again, your organization says truth matters and history matters. So, it's also not about pointing fingers where they shouldn't be pointed when we don't have evidence yet.
Well, exactly. But when you consider that they thoroughly scoured our website, that took time and resources. I can't imagine that any lower-level employee would be able to spend hours browsing our website to the point that our website is completely open to the public. And they actually found one page that we had inadvertently, evidently made unavailable to the public. It was designated as members only. We use a out-of-the-box kind of, commercial website program.
And they found it. Carol,
and they told us we had to open it up to them, which we gladly did.
Okay. Oh, just one final thing. If this does proceed, are you looking to file a lawsuit? Are you looking to get anything from the IRS? What does it take to settle this if an apology isn't enough?
If our government agencies, the servants of us taxpayers, they are supposed to work for we the people. If they are taking it upon themselves to make it appear that we the people are more serving our government, that attitude has to be scoured out of the IRS.
All right. Carol Davis, thanks for your time tonight. It's a situation not only are you watching closely, we are, but the country is now. So thank you so much for joining me this evening.
Thank you.
Up
Thank
next,
you for the opportunity.
sure. Up next, the Illinois Republican